one of the biggest mistakes I see is this misconception that a lot of parents have that this is all a responsibility of the student. They kind of leave it up to the free high school college counselor to help them create a list of colleges with the essay, with the financial aid appeal letter. Financial aid wise, a lot of the reasons why some students get more aid than others is based on the parents' finances. But another big one is that in most high schools, and this is something that I realized when I moved to the States back in 2011, they have just one guidance counselor per grade. There is no or not enough professionals in most high schools in the US, and this is an average. I think it's 415 students per one single high school college counselor.
Hello, and welcome everyone. My name is Francisco Cantu, and I am very happy to be here with you all as I am every week. I do wanna, for the people who are watching us for the first time, ask you a little bit about life before we moved to the United States. When you realized, or when we were told that we are gonna move here, can you tell me, paint a picture, quick overview of where your head was at? Were you able to see the opportunity that was ahead of you? Were you kind of just relying on your parents to take the wheel and then just going on a prolonged vacation to the US? What was that process like for you, and what did you visualize as far as your future?
Right, I was excited. I remember the options were either Texas, California, or Florida. Those were the options that we were looking at. And the idea of moving to Florida was pretty exciting. Little did I know that it's ranked as one of the worst high school level, like education wise. They're not ranked that well, at least not back then. I think it's getting a little bit better, but who knows? And I was excited about the whole, Miami being close to the beach. When you're a teenager, everything is exciting, I guess, and that helped me. I know that my older brother wasn't as excited to leave his friends. He was already older than me, so he wasn't as excited to move, and that by itself gave me, I guess, an advantage. Because I was more positive with change. And a lot of you who are watching, if you have a student in middle school or in high school, that transition from middle school to high school, 80% of it is attitude. If you're excited about leveling up, then you can have a better experience than if you're scared. So that was something that helped definitely. Just having a good attitude and not being afraid of change. This eventually helped me picking colleges. We can talk about that later on, how I wanted to go out of state versus staying in state. That's something that all my other peers that's in high school, they wanted to stay in state, and I wanted to go to New York, go to Boston. So yeah, a lot of it was attitude, and in this process, it's all about attitude, really.
Okay, so one thing is to have the positive attitude. One thing is to be optimistic, to have this relentless optimism that might, overcome a lot of the uncertainties and the hardships that come along the way. But a whole different thing is how you react when those uncertainties come. So when you came to the United States, let's say it was your first, second year, first week of high school, whatever it was, what can you talk to us about as far as the challenges that you encountered? Because a lot of parents here probably have kids who, I don't know, maybe whether it's lack of resources at their high school, maybe they don't have professors that they resonate with, maybe it's bullying, maybe it's just attention deficiency, whatever it is that are the hardships of the people who are watching this. Can you talk a little bit about the hardships that you encountered as far as getting acclimated to the educational system, to middle school, high school in the United States, and then how you dealt with that?
Yeah, so right away, I noticed that within the high school, I guess I'm just going to speak about the high school. There are running three different high schools at the same time, right? There's the high school for students who take regular level classes. Then there's the high school of students who take a mixture of honors and regular. And then there's the high school for students who take advanced level, college level classes. and a mix of honors and a few regular level classes. So I didn't know this right off the bat, and I took I think it was an Earth and Space class my freshman year of high school, and everyone was taking bio, right? Honors bio. So not knowing this little, I guess, trick, it made me feel like I was behind. That because I then when I was a senior, I was taking classes with juniors. So the little details like that had an impact on how I felt. And I, being a competitive person, I wanted to sort of overcompensate later on. So that's why I took AP level courses my sophomore year, because I didn't want to be known as the kid who was taking the uh, class behind in science that was Earth and Space. Might be different in your state here in Florida. That's what it was called. But yeah, just that was one, I guess, struggle, but it helped because even my parents figured that because there's just one college counselor and so many students, and the guidance counselor didn't tell me this, they decided to actually hire a private college advisor to help my older brother, to help me with the college preparation, the college admissions process. So all these, I guess, not mistakes, but difficulties, we were very quickly to turn them into something positive. So that's something that I recommend to all of you watching.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into college counselors, private advising, third parties, all that stuff. We're gonna get into that in just a little bit. But I do love what you said about, or the experience that you shared about, maybe at first feeling like you were a little behind, to not fault of your own. I mean, you moved to a different country and you didn't know how the system works, so naturally you fell into a bucket that where they placed you. But
Mhm.
something that I've noticed after many years of doing this is that a lot of students, there are students in one of two categories. They either think of themselves as one dimensional in terms of, okay, I am not necessarily the best at math, or I'm not very smart, but I'm a good athlete. And they carry that belief system with them all throughout high school. And then there are others who have a little bit more fluidity, or a little bit more of a dynamic self perspective in terms of, okay, maybe I'm not taking hard classes right now, but my friends are taking hard classes, so I'm going to go ahead and take that risk. And then they realize that it was more than it was built up to be as a fear in your head. So the students that tend to do the best, and I'm sure you can agree with this, are those that do not let one label or a self perception just kind of treat them like a sitcom character. Like, oh, this character in the sitcom has this set of qualities, and they're not good at math, and they're very funny, and they're this or that. But rather, the students that do the best are those that allow themselves to try different things. And if they did not do well freshman year, they do not let that dictate how they're going to do sophomore, junior, senior year. And the reason why I wanted to make a parenthesis and kind of expand on that is because that is something that we particularly see with students and parents who in which the parent did not go to college. Because a lot of times it's very easy for the parent to say, hey, I didn't go to college. This I can constrain myself to this, believe that it worked out for me. So maybe that's not something that my student can do or should do. Or the students themselves say, hey, my older siblings didn't go to college, my parents didn't go to college, so I won't be able to, or I can't. And it is this limiting belief that kind of clips their wings more so than their actual ability to take the harder classes, to apply for the scholarships, to actually succeed. So I just thought that might be a point that hits home with some people. So I wanted to make that a little bit of an emphasis. Now, you did touch on a very important point as far as the process to overcome adversity. There was a pivotal role in your story and in our family's story as far as when help came to be, because I think it's something of very brave people to ask for help when they realize that what they have is not enough and they need to learn from someone else. So can you talk to us a little bit about what the help looked like for you in the context of, obviously, the road to college, the impact that it had? Was there before and after? Who benefited the most? How did it work? Can you give us a story about that?
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, when my parents realized that there was not enough help from our high school college counselor, because it was just mathematically, right, impossible for her to dedicate even 1 hour a week to all the students that were enrolled in that high school. They decided to hire outside help from a private college counselor, and he didn't take the tests for us. He didn't write the essay for us, right? There's no one that can do that for you, at least not that it's legal. Um, but kind of opened my eyes to the fact that back then there were more than 3,500 accredited universities in the US. Now I think it's over 4,000 universities accredited in the US. And I never wanted to stay in Florida for my postgraduate education. So he kind of opened my eyes to the possibilities. And not that, again, there are some great high school college counselors out there, but having this extra help was definitely an eye-opening moment where everything sort of connected. Once I created this list of colleges following a specific methodology, and then implementing what I learned from that process, and with when I started contacting swim coaches, because like you mentioned, I swam in college. It all clicked, and all the schools in my list, the Reach, Target, Safety schools, they were all perfect, both for me and for my parents, who were the ones who were going to have to end up paying for school. But luckily, they didn't have to pay anything because it was free. So yeah, that's just how my experience with the help. I know that you got more counseling because you were younger, and you actually ended up getting accepted into more competitive schools. Both you and Laura ended up getting. There was a direct correlation between the amount of scholarships that you earned and the time that you had counseling. And for my older brother and me, we did well, but the more advising that you all got, and the younger you were, I think that there was a positive correlation with um, the scholarships that you received.
Right. Yeah. And since we're on this topic, I'm going to take a little bit of a break or time to do a shameless plug before we continue with the interview and with the help. Clearly, I mean, we've been talking about Best College Aid. We are a college advising company, media production company that dedicates ourselves to producing content like this that helps you learn how to send your child to college with scholarships. So beyond this interview, I do want to leave you all right now. We still have a lot of conversation and value left, but once it's over, do know that we do have a free presentation in the link in our bio. And that presentation I finished recording a couple of weeks ago. It's a little bit more dense. It has more strategies. It's more focused on the process of applying to college, the tangibles, the essay, the filling out the forms, the scholarships aspect to it. Whereas today's conversation is more of a overview of sort of the struggles and the testimony of a first generation college student. So just wanted to take a little bit of a break to go ahead and do that shameless plug, because Best College Aid is what allows us to produce and continue to produce this type of content. So if you want additional materials to help your student, go ahead and check out that free presentation when the live stream here is done. Okay, cool. So that was a great explanation of the value of a private college counselor. You also, when you were in college, you worked at the admissions office. And obviously you spent many years now with Best College Aid, thousands of students. Can you do, and I know that generalizations are not always great or positive, but for an exercise, a thought of exercise or an exercise of thought in which you talk about the biggest differences between someone who had outside help from a private college counselor or someone who already went through the process versus students who navigated the process by themselves. Did it manifest itself in repercussions like not filling out certain forms or missing on deadlines that were more favorable? Can you talk a little bit more about what a student who gets help looks like versus one that doesn't?
Well, just and you see it too with students that go to private school. I think statistics show, obviously not every private school is better than a public high school, but uh, private high schools tend to send students to more Ivy Leagues than public high schools, right? There's obviously different private high schools and there are better public high schools. We went to a good magnet public high school, but that's just one example of how um, investing in your child's education will have benefits and what it looked like to answer your question. Some students just ended up staying in state and got a job in state and they're making Florida money. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but some students that receive private college counseling went to New York, went to Boston, Oregon, and now they're working for Amazon. They're working on these companies, and they're making much more money because some of them even work remotely. So um, getting accepted into a more competitive school. After you graduate college, you have better offers and you have a higher salary than those who stay in state. Obviously, there are exceptions, but that was one difference. Another difference was that the amount of scholarships that students who hire a private college counselor, they end up getting more aid and scholarships than students who do the process by themselves. Obviously, this is just an average number, but a private college counselor will remind you when you have to fill out the FAFSA. They will. Some of them can even be preparers and help you fill out. They will fill out the FAFSA for you, so you know that you will be filling out the right documentation. Um, when we created our list of colleges, we made sure to look for generous colleges and universities, meaning that if we were accepted and if we had need, then they would give us need-based scholarships and they would also give us merit-based scholarships if we had merit. A lot of students who don't have these types of outside help, then they end up applying to the school that everyone else is applying. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but just because it's a popular school, it does not mean that it's a generous school. So that was one big difference that I did see. Everyone was staying in state, applying to in-state schools, but they didn't know if the school was generous. And we knew for a fact that our school could meet up to 80%, our schools rather in our list could meet up to 75% of our families' demonstrated financial need, meaning that they were generous universities. So that's just one big difference.
Yeah, and something that's important with that again, there's not one right answer, not one school, whether it's in state or out of state, that's perfect for everyone. For some person, the school in state will be the perfect one. For some person, the school out of state will be the perfect one for them. But to summarize what you're saying, or to think about it from a different approach, is they had the certainty. People that took the time and maybe had the consultation of an expert had the certainty that the option that they were pursuing was the one that was the most favorable for them. So that kind of takes me to the next question that I had, or it does bring up a good point, seeing the tangible effects of a private college counselor and the ramifications and the impact that he had on your experience. So after all was said and done, I know you talked a little bit, or you teased earlier a little bit about our family's scholarship results, but focusing a little bit more on you, can you talk about the results that you received when you got accepted to college?
Yes. So because of merit, I ended up getting a $11,000 academic scholarship, an $8,000 athletic scholarship. I did get some need-based federal aid, also some need-based institutional aid, which is money that the schools can give you if you are accepted. That is why it's good to look for generous universities, because if they're generous, then they will also give you merit-based scholarships. Sort of like a rule that we like to teach our clients here at Best College Aid. But yeah, I ended up getting $50,000, about $50,000 per year, meaning that in 4 years, I ended up getting about $200,000 for my entire undergraduate career.
Okay. And then what about other acceptances?
I was accepted into Loyola University in Maryland, got into here in Coral Gables, Florida. I also got accepted into American University in Washington, D.C. Another one was St. John's in New York. and a couple schools in Florida, like Florida Southern College and UCF. Yeah.
Okay. So you ultimately ended up studying at Marist. You had the results, the scholarship results that you shared earlier. For those of you, because we had a lot of people comment that they were watching us for the first time, we do like to sort of give you this is some best college aid lore for you to understand a little bit about how we got started, the process of creating best college aid 5 years ago. So, because you were the main driver, David, do you want to talk a little bit about how after you have joined after attending Marist and after learning what you learned and receiving the scholarships you received, can you talk to us a little bit about the story of how you started Best College Aid?
Yeah, so I think you mentioned it. I majored in business administration with a double concentration in finance and entrepreneurship. Everyone who was a finance major or a business finance major at my college, we all wanted to work at JP Morgan, work at Goldman. Everyone, or some people were getting internships there. And my, I guess, dream job was to become this finance bro, as they call them nowadays, and work in Wall Street, work corporate finance, did a couple of interviews, got to a couple final rounds. Never really got an offer on the table. So that was only for like a month and a half that I was applying. And then I guess the entrepreneurship bug bit me. And I told my father, he's been an entrepreneur his whole life. I said, why don't we open up a college consulting firm, but more, I guess, geared towards athletic advising. So helping with the recruitment process. I was a college athlete and sort of knew the ins and outs for swimming. Had already talked to some of the coaches when I was building up the business model. And that was the original idea. But my father, he has a background in engineering and also in movie production, digital content. And he said, why don't we just do a online course, let's call it that for lack of a better term, where we teach everything from the four different types of scholarships, how to apply for each of the types of scholarships and financial aid, how to create the list of colleges, how to write the essay, everything that you learn from your own experience, from your private college counselor, from your years working in admissions, and package it into a course, a membership. And I didn't know how to edit. I learned how to edit on Adobe Premiere. Used to know how to use the Bloomberg terminals, and then I kind of had to get an Adobe license to learn that. And Laura, who is also on our social media, helped me edit some of the videos. We scripted them. We scripted them, and then bought a teleprompter. Built this online course, and then we started adding features like the community, the Zoom coaching calls as well, something that we still do to this day with our clients and their students. And it's been 5 years since that idea became what we do now for a living.
Yeah. And just for those of you who are watching for the first time, I do want to lay out some context as to what the world of advising and helping students get to college looks like in terms of being in the market to get some advice. So as it stands, there are currently two options that families have in terms of helping their students get accepted to college with scholarships. First, there are the public, free high school counselors available at your schools, at your students' schools, and they might have the best disposition. They might have the best intent. They might have the best results when they get to work one-on-one with the student. But the problem is, as David mentioned earlier, the national average is over 400 students per single counselor. So the math ain't mathin' in terms of if you want to have a 1 hour meeting with every single one of these students, and then you add their parents, that's 3 hours per student, 400 students. That's over 1,200 hours that these counselors would have to work per semester to meet once with every member of the household and help them out, right? So it is not feasible for them to give your student the proper care and support. Then the other option is, okay, there is a market for private college counselors. And David, me, our family were super blessed that our family was able to afford a private college counselor who had the best disposition, who was very, very knowledgeable, and who helped us get accepted to top tier institutions. I attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. David, as he already mentioned, Mary's College in Poughkeepsie, New York. Vidal studied in Miami, FIU. So we collectively received over $500,000 between the four of us in financial aid and scholarships for college, right? So this was a positive investment. But what happened there is that my parents ended up paying $10,000 for these services. And that is a very large amount of money that was a big sacrifice for them, and that not many people can commit to that sacrifice, right? So in order to get the one-on-one counseling that a lot of people desire or that they can't get from their free high school counselor, the alternative unfortunately is we paid $10,000 for it. Last time we checked earlier this month, the national average was $8,000 for consulting services. So that is why we decided to create Best College Aid, which 80% of what we try to contribute to society and give out to the public is free information that if you click on the top left corner and you go to the Best College Aid profile, you're going to see Reels, TikToks, YouTube videos. You're going to see live streams like this are intending to provide value, and whether it's motivational value or tangible tips. We try to provide as much value as possible, but we're completely aware that there are people who are looking for advising and help beyond a random TikTok, a random live stream that pops into their feed, right? Because as much as we try to do that, there is still a path that has to be followed from step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get from where you're at to where you want to end up, right? So for those of you who are interested in getting even more support than what we offer in social media and get more of a personalized experience, we do have our Best College Aid membership. It's a family membership, a lifetime family membership for those families that want to learn how to help their students but don't want to pay $10,000. So if you're interested in learning more about that, or even if you're not interested in purchasing a membership and affiliating with our service, but you just want to learn more information to help your child, that's it. That's the only prerequisite that you need to have to want to help your student out. Well, if that's your case, or if you're a student yourself and you want to learn how to increase the competitiveness of your college application, how to understand the way that scholarships work, you can go ahead and check out the link in my bio at Best College Aid USA. We have a presentation that filmed a couple of weeks ago that talks about the top secrets to get accepted to college with scholarships. It is brand new information from the previous admission cycle. So you can go ahead and check that out so that you can begin to learn ways in which you can, help your student. At the end of that presentation, we do talk about Best College Aid, and we do offer a special discount for those of you who watch that presentation. But if you're not interested, you can stop watching. If you are, we would love to have you in our family. Okay, so what I would like to do now before we finish up our conversation, David, is if you could talk a little bit more about the success that our students have had. What is the common denominator in the ones that do the best? Can you talk maybe tangible numbers? I know you mentioned up to $300,000, but can you talk whatever comes to mind first about the success of our students and everything that we've accomplished over the last 5 years?
Yeah, well, just this morning, got an email from Sandra, one of our members, and she was telling us that her son, he had already been accepted to Stony Brook as a first-year student, but this morning got an email saying that he was accepted for a full ride scholarship. He had to go through a whole application process. We also helped a couple of weeks ago, one of our members, Paula, her daughter, Jasmine, they're from Argentina. They had moved back and forth to the state. They're in Georgia right now. They got accepted into the University of West Georgia, and she was awarded the presidential scholarship. So this was for the class of 2024. And we are still waiting for more schools. We're still waiting for more acceptances. A lot of our students who did win merit-based scholarships are still waiting for need-based scholarships from the FAFSA. This year the FAFSA is a bit glitchy, for lack of a better term, but they're fixing it. The Department of Education wants to make it more accessible for everyone. So we're excited to see how this school year ends for our clients, our students who are seniors in high school. And if you are a parent of a junior, sophomore, freshman, and want to get started now, like Francisco said, we do have a free resource for you located in the link in our bio, and also on YouTube and on Facebook in the comment section or on the video subscription. So you can learn more about how you can get started. And at the end, if you want to get more of a one-on-one mentorship, then you can obviously join using the special discount that we give you just for registering and watching that presentation.
Yeah. And that just reminded me, I also had a call earlier today with one of my students, Miguel. He had already been accepted this semester to University of Connecticut, to University of Miami, Bucknell, and Fordham. And as you said, the FAFSA is a little bit glitchy, so not all schools have released their financial aid award packages. But Miguel, today he shared with me one of the universities that accepted him gave him 79 out of $84,000 per year. So the remaining 5,000 are going to, come out from work study and are going to come out from, looking at private scholarships, decreasing non-billable, flexible expenses from, the cost of college. So it's basically working towards turning that into a completely full ride. So yeah, we get cases like this every day, especially this time of the year. So if you want to learn, or if you want that to be your student as well, we do have proven track record, proven methodology that you can learn more about if you check out that free presentation in the link in our bio. Hopefully you find a lot of value there. And I have nothing left to say, but thank you, David, not just for doing this today, but for starting and setting in motion Best College Aid, because let alone, Laura, me, everyone involved in this endeavor, but all the families, the millions of people that watch our social media content, the thousands of, hundreds of thousands of people that have watched our presentations, webinars, seminars, talks, all those things. And then our thousands of students inside our program, they've all changed their lives one way or another. And it all started from your efforts. So thank you for that on behalf of all of them and on behalf of me.
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to being back.